Please help my mommy. They're hurting her. The scream cut through the warm Los Angeles evening like a knife. A little girl's voice, shaking with fear, crying out for help. Her name was Harper Martinez. She was only 5 years old. She wore a blue dress that was now dirty and wrinkled. Her feet were bare as she ran down South Grand Avenue in downtown LA. Tears ran down her cheeks. She was crying so hard she could barely see where she was going. Across the street, near a big park, some men on motorcycles had stopped. They wore leather jackets. They had tattoos on their arms. They looked tough and scary. But when they heard that little girl screaming, everything changed. The biggest man slowly took off his helmet. His face changed from confused to worried. Something terrible was happening, and these men were about to do something about it. But before the rescue happened, before those motorcycle engines roared to life, the day had started like any other day for Jessica Martinez. Before we continue, please hit that subscribe button and like this video. Let us know in the comments where you're watching from. And please, make us a promise. Share this video with your family and friends if the story touches your heart. Now, let's get started. That evening started normal for Jessica Martinez. She was 45 years old and worked as a janitor. A janitor is someone who cleans buildings. Jessica cleaned a big fancy building in downtown Los Angeles, but she didn't live in a fancy place. She lived in a small apartment in a part of LA called Boyle Heights with her daughter Harper. Their apartment was on the 3rd floor. You had to walk up the stairs because there was no elevator. From their window, Jessica could see all the tall buildings downtown. She could hear music from the neighbors, Mexican music called mariachi. She could smell tacos from the food cart down on the street. Even though the apartment was small and old, Jessica kept it very clean. She worked hard to make it a nice home for Harper. Jessica wasn't always alone. She used to have a husband. His name was Carlos. He worked in a factory. But 5 years ago, there was a terrible accident at the factory. Carlos died. Jessica had to raise Harper all by herself after that. It was very hard. Money was always tight. That means Jessica never had enough money. She worked hard every day, but the bills kept coming. Harper needed food. They needed to pay rent. Jessica needed to buy medicine when Harper got sick. Sometimes Jessica had to choose between buying food or paying the electric bill. It was scary. That evening, Harper sat on the floor coloring. She had a coloring book with pictures of the Hollywood sign. That's a famous sign in the hills of Los Angeles. Harper used her crayons carefully, trying to stay inside the lines. The window was open. A nice breeze came in. It smelled like flowers from the trees outside. "Mama, one day will we live in a big house?" Harper asked, not looking up from her coloring. Jessica was folding laundry. Clean clothes sat in a basket. "Maybe someday, mi amor," Jessica said softly. "A house where nobody yells at you and you have your own room." Harper smiled. "With a backyard?" "With the biggest backyard you ever saw," Jessica promised, even though she didn't know how that could ever happen. Then Jessica's phone rang. She looked at the screen. Her stomach got tight. It was her boss, a very rich man named Brandon Sterling. He owned the building where Jessica worked, Sterling Tower, a huge glass building that looked like it touched the sky. "Hello?" Jessica answered. "Jessica, I need you to come in tonight." Brandon's voice was cold. He didn't say please. He didn't ask if Jessica had plans. He just told her what to do. "I have important business people coming. The building needs to be perfect. Be here by 7. Jessica looked at the time. It was already 6 o'clock. "Mr. Sterling, I wasn't on the schedule tonight. I was going to. I don't care about your plans," Brandon cut her off. "Be here at 7 or don't bother coming back." The phone went dead. He hung up on her. Jessica felt tears in her eyes, but she didn't cry. She couldn't. Harper was watching. "I have to go to work, baby," Jessica said, her voice shaking a little. Harper's smile disappeared. But you just got home. I know, I'm sorry. Jessica knelt down and hugged Harper tight. Mrs. Chin next door will watch you, okay? I'll be back as soon as I can. Jessica walked to work. She couldn't afford to take the bus both ways. The walk took 30 minutes. Her feet hurt. Her back hurt. She was 45, but she felt much older. The sun was going down. The sky turned orange and pink. It was actually very pretty. But Jessica was too tired and worried to notice. Sterling Tower stood tall above all the other buildings, all glass and steel, shiny and expensive. Jessica used her keycard to get in the back door, the service entrance. That's where the workers go in, not the fancy front door. She changed into her work uniform, blue shirt and pants. Then she got her cleaning cart, mop, broom, cleaning sprays, rags, everything she needed. The building was quiet. Most people had gone home. Jessica started cleaning the bathrooms on the first floor, then the second floor, then the third. Her back hurt more and more, but she kept going. She had to keep this job. She had no choice. Around 8 o'clock, Jessica was cleaning the big meeting room on the top floor. This was where Brandon met with rich people. The room had huge windows. You could see all of Los Angeles from up there. The lights of the city sparkled like stars. It was beautiful, but Jessica didn't have time to look. She had to work fast. Brandon would be here soon with his guests. Jessica mopped the floor until it shined. She cleaned the big table. She made sure all the chairs were straight. She emptied the trash cans. Everything had to be perfect. Brandon got very angry when things weren't perfect. She was just finishing when she heard voices. Men laughing. The sound of expensive shoes on the floor. Her heart started beating fast. Brandon was here, with his business friends. Jessica tried to hurry. She needed to get out of the room before they came in. But she wasn't fast enough. The door opened. Brandon Sterling walked in. He was tall. He wore a suit that probably cost more money than Jessica made in a month, maybe 3 months. His hair was perfect. His watch was gold. Behind him came 3 other men. They all wore expensive suits too. They all looked rich and important. Brandon saw Jessica. He didn't smile. He didn't say hello. He just looked annoyed that she was still there, like she was a bug he wanted to step on. "Are you finished yet?" he asked coldly. Jessica's throat felt dry. "Almost, Mr. Sterling. Just one more." "I said the building needed to be perfect by 7. Brandon's voice got louder. "It's 8 o'clock. Why are you still here?" Jessica felt her face get hot. The 3 businessmen were watching her. They looked uncomfortable, but they didn't say anything. Nobody ever said anything when Brandon was mean. "I'm sorry, Mr. Sterling. You called me at 6, so I came as fast as I could." "I don't want excuses," Brandon interrupted. His face was getting red now. "Do you have any idea how important this meeting is? These men don't want to see some janitor when they walk in. They want a clean building. Is that too much to ask?" "No, sir. I was just finishing." "You had all day to clean this building," Brandon said, even though that wasn't true. Jessica hadn't been scheduled to work today at all. "But instead, you're slow and lazy, and now you're making me look bad in front of my guests." The words hurt. Jessica wasn't lazy. She worked harder than anyone, but she couldn't say that. She needed this job too much. "I'll just get my cart and go," Jessica said quietly. She grabbed her mop, but she was nervous. Her hands were shaking. The mop slipped. It fell on the floor. Water splashed on the shiny, clean floor she'd just finished. "Are you kidding me?" Brandon shouted. "You just made it worse." "I'm sorry. I'll clean it up." Jessica bent down fast to pick up the mop, but Brandon was too angry now. He kicked the mop bucket. It tipped over. Dirty water spilled everywhere, all over the floor, all over Jessica's legs. Her pants got soaked. The businessmen looked shocked. One of them, an older man with gray hair, opened his mouth like he wanted to say something, but he didn't. He just looked away. "Look what you made me do," Brandon said, even though he was the one who kicked the bucket. "You're useless. Why do I even pay you?" Jessica's eyes filled with tears. She got on her knees and started trying to clean up the mess. Her hands were shaking. She felt so embarrassed, so small, so worthless. That's what Brandon wanted. He wanted her to feel like nothing. But then she heard something that made her freeze. A small voice, a voice she knew better than any sound in the world. "Mama?" Jessica looked up. Harper stood in the doorway, still in her pajamas, her eyes wide with fear. Mrs. Chin, the neighbor, stood behind her, looking sorry and confused. "Harper!" Jessica stood up fast. "What are you doing here?" "Mrs. Chin said we could bring you dinner," Harper said in a tiny voice. She held a small container of food, rice and beans that Mrs. Chin had made. "But I heard yelling. Are you okay?" Brandon turned and saw Harper. His face was still red and angry. "Great. You brought your kid to work? That's so professional." "She wasn't supposed to. I'm sorry." Jessica tried to move toward Harper. She wanted to get her daughter out of here, away from Brandon's anger. But Brandon stepped in her way. "You're sorry? You're always sorry, but you keep messing up. Maybe I should just fire you right now. Find someone who actually knows how to do their job." "Please, Mr. Sterling." Jessica's voice cracked. She was begging now. She hated begging, but she had no choice. "I need this job. Please. I have a daughter to feed." "That's not my problem," Brandon said. His voice was ice cold, mean, the meanest Jessica had ever heard it. Harper started crying. Not loud, just quiet tears running down her face. "Stop yelling at my mama," she said. Her voice was so small, so brave. Brandon turned to look at Harper. "Your mama is lazy and stupid. Maybe you'll grow up the same way." Something inside Jessica broke. He could say mean things to her. She could take it. But not to Harper. Not to her baby. "Don't talk to my daughter like that," Jessica said. Her voice was stronger now. "Say whatever you want to me, but leave her alone." Brandon's eyes got wide. Nobody ever talked back to him. He stepped closer to Jessica. Too close. She could smell his expensive cologne. It made her feel sick. "You want to talk back to me?" Brandon's voice was quiet now. That was somehow scarier than when he was yelling. "You forget who pays you, who lets you work here. I can destroy you with one phone call." "Please," Jessica whispered. "Just let me clean this up and go. Please." Instead of answering, Brandon shoved her. Not hard enough to knock her down, but enough to make her stumble back. Her hip hit the edge of the table. Pain shot through her side. "Stop it!" Harper screamed. "Stop hurting her!" The businessmen were all standing now. One of them said, "Brandon, maybe we should stay out of this." Brandon snapped at them. Jessica was trying not to cry. She was trying to be strong for Harper, but her hip hurt so bad, and she was so tired of being treated like trash, so tired of working so hard and never having enough, so tired of everything. "I'm going to leave now," Jessica said. Her voice was shaking. "Come on, Harper, let's go." She started walking toward the door, toward her daughter, but Brandon grabbed her arm. His grip was tight. It hurt. "I didn't say you could leave," he said. "You made this mess. Clean it up first." "Let go of me!" Jessica tried to pull her arm away. "Or what?" Brandon's face was right in front of hers now. "What are you going to do?" "Nothing. Because you're nothing." That's when it happened. Brandon's other hand came up fast. It hit Jessica's face, a slap that made a sound like a crack in the quiet room. Jessica's head snapped to the side. Her cheek burned. She tasted blood in her mouth. Harper screamed, a real scream this time, full of terror. The businessmen all jumped. One of them said, "What the?" Jessica's ears were ringing. Her face hurt so bad, but all she could think about was Harper, her baby, who had just seen her mama get hit. Harper ran toward her. "Mama! Mama!" Jessica caught her daughter, held her tight. "It's okay, baby. It's okay." But it wasn't okay. Nothing was okay. And in that moment, with her face burning and her daughter crying in her arms, Jessica knew Harper wasn't safe here. She had to get her away, right now. "Run, Harper," Jessica whispered. "Run and find help." "But Mama, go," Jessica said louder. She pushed Harper toward the door. "Run, now!" Harper looked at her mama, tears all over her face. She didn't want to leave, but she was a smart little girl. She knew something was very wrong. So she ran. Her little feet slapped against the floor, out the door, down the hall, toward the elevator. Brandon started to go after her. "Hey, get back here!" But Jessica grabbed his arm. She used all her strength to hold him back. "Leave her alone," she shouted. "You can hit me, but don't you touch my daughter." Brandon shoved Jessica hard. This time she did fall. She hit the ground. Her elbow cracked against the hard floor. Pain shot up her arm, but she didn't care. Harper was getting away. That's all that mattered. Harper's footsteps echoed down the hallway, then the ding of the elevator, then silence. Brandon stood over Jessica. His breath was coming fast, like he'd been running. The businessmen were all backing toward the door. They wanted to leave. They didn't want to be part of this anymore. "You're fired," Brandon said to Jessica. "Get out of my building." Jessica slowly got to her feet. Her face hurt, her elbow hurt, her hip hurt. But worse than all of that, her heart hurt. Because somewhere out there, Harper was running alone and scared through downtown Los Angeles at night. Jessica stumbled toward the door. Brandon didn't try to stop her this time. She ran to the elevator, pushed the button over and over. Her hands were shaking so bad she could barely push it. The elevator came. She got in. The doors closed. As soon as she was alone, Jessica started crying. Really crying. Big sobs that hurt her chest. Her baby was out there somewhere, alone, in the city, at night. The elevator reached the bottom floor. The doors opened. Jessica ran through the lobby, out the front doors, into the warm night air. The street was busy, cars driving past, people walking, music coming from somewhere. But no Harper. "Harper!" Jessica screamed. "Harper!" She ran down Grand Avenue, her feet pounding on the sidewalk, looking everywhere. Where would Harper go? She was only 5 years old. She didn't know this part of the city. She would be so scared. "Harper!" Jessica screamed again. And then she heard it, a sound that made her heart stop. Harper's voice, not calling for her, calling for someone else. "Please help! Please! They're hurting my mama!" Jessica ran toward the sound, around the corner, and then she saw it. Saw what would change everything. Harper had run past the big park, past the tall palm trees. Her bare feet hurt from running on the hard sidewalk. She was crying and scared and didn't know what to do. But then she saw them. Men sitting on motorcycles. Big, shiny motorcycles that gleamed under the streetlights. The men wore leather jackets. They had tattoos. They looked like the kind of people Mama always said to stay away from. But Harper had nowhere else to go, so she ran toward them, screaming, "Please help! Please! They're hurting my mama!" The biggest man turned his head. He had a shaved head and a beard. His arms were covered in tattoos. He slowly got off his motorcycle and took off his helmet. His face was serious, but his eyes were kind. He knelt down so he was at Harper's level. "Hey there, little one. Take a breath. What's your name?" "Harper," she said between sobs. "Please, you have to help her. The mean man hurt her." "Where is your mama?" the man asked gently. Harper pointed back toward the tall glass building, Sterling Tower. "Up there, in that big building. The man pushed her and hit her, and she told me to run and find help." The man's face got hard, angry, but not angry at Harper, angry at whoever hurt her mama. He looked at the other men. "Tyler, Justin, Christopher, with me. Matthew, you stay with Harper." "I'm coming too," Harper said. "That's my mama." "I know, sweetie," the man said. He had a gentle voice now. "But it's safer if you stay here with my friend Matthew. He'll keep you safe. I promise we'll bring your mama back." "What's my name?" "It's Marcus. Can you remember that?" Harper nodded. "Marcus. That's right. And I promise you, Harper, we're going to make sure your mama is okay. Can you trust me?" Harper looked into his eyes. They were brown and warm. She didn't know why, but she believed him. She nodded again. Marcus stood up. He looked at a younger guy with blonde hair. "Matthew, keep her safe. Give her your jacket. She's shaking." Matthew took off his leather jacket and wrapped it around Harper's shoulders. It was too big. It went all the way to the ground, but it was warm and smelled like leather and somehow made her feel safer. "Which floor?" Marcus asked Harper. "The very top one," Harper said, "where you can see the whole city." Marcus nodded. Then he turned to his friends. "Let's go." 4 motorcycles roared to life. The sound was so loud it made Harper jump. But it wasn't a scary sound. It was a powerful sound, like thunder. The bikes took off toward Sterling Tower, riding fast up the street. Matthew sat down on the curb next to Harper. "Your mama's going to be okay," he said. "Marcus is a good man. He won't let anyone hurt her." "Who are you guys?" Harper asked, wiping her eyes. "We're just people who ride motorcycles together," Matthew said with a smile. "We were riding home from the beach when you found us, and I'm really glad you did, because nobody should hurt mamas. Nobody." Meanwhile, Marcus and the other 3 men pulled up to Sterling Tower. They left their motorcycles right in front, didn't even park them properly, just jumped off and ran to the doors. The security guard at the desk stood up. "Hey, you can't—" "Someone's being hurt up there," Marcus said, his voice like steel. "You can try to stop us, or you can call the police. Your choice." The guard looked at Marcus, looked at the other 3 men behind him. Then he picked up his phone. "I'm calling the cops." "Good," Marcus said. "Tell them to hurry." They didn't wait for the elevator. They found the stairs and ran up, 40 floors. Their legs burned, their lungs burned, but they didn't stop. When they finally reached the top floor, they burst through the door into the hallway. They could hear voices, a man yelling, a woman crying. Marcus followed the sounds. The door to the big meeting room was still open. He looked inside and saw exactly what Harper had described. A woman on the floor. Her face was red on one side. A bruise was already forming. A man in an expensive suit standing over her. 3 other men in suits standing off to the side looking uncomfortable. Marcus didn't think, he just acted. He walked into that room like he owned it. "You the one hitting her?" Marcus's voice was quiet, but somehow that made it scarier. Brandon spun around. His face was still red with anger. "Who the hell are you? Security!" "Security's calling the police," Marcus said calmly, "which is good, because what you just did is called assault. That's a crime." "Get out of my building," Brandon shouted. "I'll have you arrested." "You can try," Marcus said. He walked over to Jessica and offered her his hand. "Ma'am, are you okay? Your daughter sent us." Jessica looked up at him. Her face was tear-stained. Her eye was starting to swell. Harper? Where's Harper? Is she safe? She's safe, Marcus said gently. My friend Matthew is with her. Let me help you up. Jessica took his hand. Marcus pulled her to her feet gently. She wobbled a little. He kept his hand on her arm to steady her. Brandon took a step forward. She's my employee. This is a private matter. Leave now or what? Marcus turned to face him. You'll hit me too? Go ahead and try. Brandon looked at Marcus. Really looked at him. Marcus was bigger, stronger, and he wasn't alone. Tyler, Justin, and Christopher had come into the room too. They stood between Brandon and the door, arms crossed, not saying anything, just standing there. Brandon suddenly looked less confident. He looked at his business friends. Don't just stand there, do something. But the three men in suits looked away. One of them, the older one with gray hair, actually said, I think we're going to leave, Brandon. This has gone too far. You can't just leave. Brandon's voice was getting higher, more desperate. We have a deal to sign. Not anymore, the gray-haired man said. I don't do business with men who hit women. Come on, gentlemen. The three businessmen walked out. They didn't look at Brandon. They didn't look at Jessica. They just left. Their footsteps echoed down the hallway. Now it was just Brandon, Jessica, Marcus, and the three other bikers in the room. You need to sit down, Marcus said to Brandon. It wasn't a question. It was a command. I don't take orders from street thugs, Brandon said, but his voice was shaking now. Street thugs? Tyler, one of the other bikers, laughed. Man, I'm a mechanic. Justin over there is a teacher. Christopher owns a restaurant. We just like riding bikes. But you're the real thug. Hitting a woman half your size in front of witnesses? Real tough. Brandon's face went red again, but before he could say anything, they all heard it. Sirens. Getting closer and closer. The police were coming. You know what's about to happen? Marcus said to Brandon. Those police are going to come up here, they're going to see her face, they're going to see witnesses, and you're going to get arrested. I'll tell them you threatened me, Brandon said. You broke into my building. Actually, Justin said, pulling out his phone, I've been recording this whole thing from the moment we walked in. Want to hear what you said? She's my employee. This is a private matter. That's pretty much admitting you hit her. Brandon's eyes went wide. He looked at Jessica. You're going to regret this. I'll make sure you never work in this city again. No, Marcus said, and his voice was cold as ice. You're the one who's going to regret it. Because in about 30 seconds, the police are coming through that door, and your life as you know it is over. And just like Marcus predicted, exactly 30 seconds later, two police officers rushed into the room. One was a man with gray hair at his temples. The other was a woman with her hair tied back. They looked at the scene. Jessica's bruised face, Brandon's angry expression, the four bikers standing guard. The male officer, his badge said Officer Chin, walked straight to Jessica. Ma'am, are you all right? Do you need medical attention? Jessica shook her head, but tears were running down her face again. My daughter. I need to see my daughter. Is she okay? There's a little girl downstairs, Officer Chin said gently. She's safe. We'll take you to her. But first, can you tell me what happened here? Before Jessica could answer, Brandon spoke up. Officer, these men broke into my building and threatened me. I want them arrested. Officer Chin didn't even look at him. He kept his eyes on Jessica. Ma'am? Jessica took a shaky breath. Then she told them everything. How Brandon called her in on her day off. How he yelled at her. How he pushed her. How he hit her. Her voice shook, but she didn't stop talking. When she was done, Officer Chin turned to Brandon. Mr. Sterling, I'm placing you under arrest for assault. You have the right to remain silent. This is ridiculous, Brandon shouted. Do you know who I am? I know the mayor. I know the police chief. One phone call and you'll lose your job. That may be, Officer Chin said calmly, pulling out handcuffs. But right now, I'm doing my job. Turn around, please. I will not. Brandon backed away. You can't do this to me. Marcus stepped aside. He didn't want to interfere with the police doing their job, but he made sure he was between Brandon and Jessica, just in case. The female officer, Officer Hayes, helped Officer Chin. Together they got the handcuffs on Brandon, even though he fought and yelled the whole time. It wasn't dignified. The powerful billionaire, the man who owned this whole building, being put in handcuffs like a common criminal. You'll all pay for this, Brandon screamed as they led him toward the door. Every single one of you! But nobody was scared of his threats anymore. The moment those handcuffs clicked shut, Brandon Sterling's power was gone. As the police led Brandon away, Jessica's legs stopped working. She started to fall. Marcus caught her gently. Whoa, I got you. Let's sit you down. He helped her to one of the fancy chairs. She sat down hard, like all her energy was gone. Harper, she whispered. I need to see Harper. Let's get you downstairs, Marcus said. He looked at Officer Hayes. Can we take her to her daughter? Yes, Officer Hayes said. Actually, we should get paramedics to look at her. That bruise on her face needs attention. I'm fine, Jessica said. But she wasn't fine. Her hands were shaking. Her face hurt so bad, and she just wanted to hold her baby. They took the elevator down. It felt like it took forever, even though it was only a few minutes. When the doors finally opened, Jessica heard the most beautiful sound in the world. Mama! Harper ran across the lobby. She was still wearing Matthew's too big jacket. Her face was red from crying, but when she saw her mama, she ran like her life depended on it. Jessica fell to her knees and caught Harper in her arms. They both cried, hard. Jessica held her daughter so tight, like she would never let go. Harper buried her face in her mama's shoulder. I'm sorry, baby, Jessica sobbed. I'm so sorry you had to see that. The bikers helped, Harper said through her tears. Marcus and his friends. They saved you, Mama. Jessica looked up at Marcus. He was standing a few feet away, giving them space. His friends were with him. Tyler, Justin, Christopher, and Matthew. They all looked uncomfortable, like they didn't know what to do. Thank you, Jessica said, her voice breaking. Thank you so much. I don't know what would have happened if— You don't have to thank us, Marcus interrupted gently. Any decent person would have done the same thing. But you did, Jessica said. You helped when you didn't have to. You saved us. An ambulance arrived outside. The paramedics came in with their bags. They checked Jessica's face. She did have a concussion. Her cheekbone might be broken. They wanted to take her to the hospital. The hospital is where doctors help people when they're hurt. I can't afford a hospital, Jessica whispered to the paramedic. She knew hospitals cost a lot of money she didn't have. We'll worry about that later, the paramedic, a kind woman named Rosa, said. Right now, we need to make sure you're okay. Your daughter can come with you. Jessica looked at Harper. Her baby's eyes were so big and scared. Okay, Jessica agreed. Okay, we'll follow you, Marcus said. Jessica looked at him, confused. You don't have to do that. I know, Marcus said, but we're going to anyway. At the hospital, which was called LAC plus USC Medical Center, the doctors checked Jessica carefully. The good news was her cheekbone wasn't broken, just badly bruised. She did have a small concussion, which means her brain got shaken up a little. They gave her ice for her face and medicine for the pain. Harper sat in a chair next to the hospital bed, still wearing Matthew's jacket. She wouldn't let go of her mama's hand, not even for a second. Marcus and his friends waited in the hallway. They didn't have to, but they did. When Jessica was finally released, which means the doctor said she could leave, it was almost midnight, so late. Jessica walked out of the emergency room with Harper holding her hand. She saw Marcus and his friends all sitting in those uncomfortable hospital chairs, waiting. You're still here? She asked, surprised. Told you we would be, Marcus said, standing up. You have somewhere to go tonight? Jessica's stomach dropped. She realized she didn't. Their apartment, it was so far away. She didn't have money for a taxi. She was too hurt and tired to walk. And she'd been fired. Her job was gone. How would she pay rent? How would she buy food? I don't know, Jessica admitted. Saying it out loud made her want to cry again. There's a motel a few streets over, Marcus said. Nothing fancy, but it's clean and safe. We can take you there. My treat. I can't ask you to. You're not asking, Marcus said. I'm offering. You need somewhere safe to sleep tonight, to figure things out tomorrow. Let us do this for you. Jessica looked at Harper. Her daughter was so tired she could barely keep her eyes open. They needed somewhere to sleep. And pride didn't matter when your child was exhausted and scared. Okay, Jessica whispered. Thank you. The motel was called the Olympic Inn. It was in a part of LA called Koreatown. Korean is another language people speak. There were signs in Korean and English. The smell of Korean barbecue filled the air from nearby restaurants. Marcus paid for a room, 2 beds, which means 2 places to sleep, clean sheets, a bathroom with a shower. Nothing fancy, but to Jessica, it looked like a palace. Will you be okay? Marcus asked at the door. Jessica nodded. Thank you. Really. I don't know how to repay you. You don't have to repay us, Marcus said. Just take care of yourself and that brave little girl. Here's my number. He wrote it on a piece of paper from the motel notepad. If you need anything at all, you call me, okay? Jessica took the paper. Her hands were still shaking a little. Okay. After Marcus left, Jessica helped Harper get ready for bed. They didn't have pajamas or toothbrushes or anything, but they had each other. That's what mattered. Harper climbed into one of the beds. Jessica lay down next to her. For a long time, they just held each other in the dark. Mama? Harper's small voice broke the silence. Yes, baby? Are we going to be okay? Jessica wanted to say yes. She wanted to promise everything would be fine. But she'd never lied to Harper before. She wasn't going to start now. I don't know, Jessica said honestly. I lost my job. We don't have much money. But you know what? We have each other. And we met some really good people today. People who helped us when they didn't have to. So maybe we'll be okay. Harper was quiet for a moment. Then she said, The bikers were nice. Marcus has kind eyes. Jessica smiled in the dark, even though it hurt her bruised face. Yes, he does. Can we see them again? I don't know, sweetie. I hope so, Harper whispered. Then, like only tired children can do, she fell asleep. Just like that. 1 second awake, the next second asleep. But Jessica stayed awake for a long time. She lay there in that motel room in Koreatown listening to her daughter breathe, thinking about everything that had happened. The worst night of her life. And somehow, also a night where she'd met people who restored her faith that good people still existed. She thought about Marcus, about how gentle he'd been with Harper, how he'd stood between her and Brandon without hesitation, how he'd made sure they had somewhere safe to sleep. He didn't know them. He owed them nothing, but he helped anyway. Jessica touched her bruised face gently. It hurt a lot, but she was alive. Harper was safe. They'd survived, and that mean, terrible man was in jail. For the first time in years, Jessica let herself cry. Really cry. Not quiet tears she hid from Harper, but big, sobbing cries that came from deep in her chest. All the fear, all the exhaustion, all the years of struggling and being treated badly, it all came out. And when she was done crying, she felt something she hadn't felt in a very long time. Hope. Just a tiny bit. but it was there. Maybe they would be okay. Maybe. The next morning, Jessica woke up to the sound of knocking on the motel room door. She sat up fast. Her whole body hurt. Her face hurt most of all. Harper was still asleep, curled up in a ball under the blankets. Jessica limped to the door. "Who is it?" "It's Marcus. I brought breakfast." Jessica looked through the peephole, the tiny window in the door. Sure enough, it was Marcus. He was holding paper bags. She opened the door. "You didn't have to do that." "I know," Marcus said with a small smile. "Can I come in?" Jessica stepped aside. Marcus came in carrying bags that smelled amazing, like eggs and bacon and coffee. "I didn't know what you liked," Marcus said, setting the bags on the small table. "So I got a little bit of everything. Pancakes, eggs, bacon, orange juice for Harper, coffee for you." "This is too much," Jessica said, but her stomach growled. She hadn't eaten since yesterday afternoon. "Eat," Marcus said. "We can talk after." Harper woke up from the smell of food. Her eyes got big. "Is that pancakes?" "Sure is," Marcus said, "with extra syrup, just in case." They sat and ate together. It was strange. Yesterday at this time, Jessica didn't know Marcus existed. Now he was having breakfast with them in a motel room. But it didn't feel weird. It felt nice, safe. After they finished eating, Harper wanted to color. Marcus had brought a coloring book and crayons. Jessica didn't even know how he knew Harper liked to color. He just seemed to know. While Harper colored on the floor, Marcus and Jessica sat at the little table. Marcus's face got serious. "So what's your plan?" he asked. Jessica's stomach sank. "I don't have one. I lost my job. I don't have much money saved. Maybe enough for a few weeks of rent if I'm really careful. After that," she couldn't finish. She didn't want to say, "We'll be homeless," out loud, especially not where Harper could hear. Marcus nodded slowly. "What if I told you that you're not alone in this?" "What do you mean?" "Last night, after I left here, I went back to meet up with the guys. We talked, and we called some other people, friends, family, people we know. And," Marcus pulled out his phone. He showed Jessica a video. It was a video of Harper running up to the bikers, screaming for help. Someone had filmed it, posted it online. Jessica's hands started shaking as she watched. But then she saw the comments. Hundreds of them, thousands. "This little girl is so brave. Thank God those bikers helped. Who is the billionaire who hit her mom? He needs to be in jail. Does this family need help? How can we donate?" The video had been watched over 1,000,000 times in just one night, and people were angry. Not at Jessica, not at Harper, at Brandon. And they wanted to help. "People want to give you money?" Jessica whispered. "More than that," Marcus said. "I've gotten calls this morning. A bakery owner named Hannah Wilson wants to give you an apartment for free. It's above her bakery, 2 bedrooms. She says you can live there as long as you need." Jessica's eyes filled with tears. Why would she do that? Because she saw the video. Because she has a daughter too. Because she wants to help, Marcus smiled. And that's not all. A community center in Boyle Heights wants to hire you. They help single moms like you. They said you'd be perfect because you understand what it's like. Jessica couldn't believe what she was hearing. Yesterday, her life was falling apart. Today, people she'd never met wanted to help her? It didn't seem real. "I don't understand," Jessica said. "Why would strangers help me?" "Because they're not strangers anymore," Marcus said. "They saw what happened. They saw a hard-working mom who was just trying to do her job, who got hurt for no reason. And they saw a brave little girl who went to get help. You inspired people, Jessica. You showed them what courage looks like." Jessica looked at Harper. Her daughter was carefully coloring a picture of a flower, like nothing bad had ever happened. Kids were amazing that way. They could bounce back from scary things so fast. I can't take charity, Jessica said quietly. I need to work, to earn things. It's not charity, Marcus said. The job is real. You'd be working. The apartment comes with the job. And people want to donate things you need, furniture, clothes for Harper, school supplies. Let them help. You'd do the same for someone else, right? Jessica thought about that. Would she help someone if she could? Yes, she would. So why was it so hard to let people help her? Okay, she said finally. Okay. 3 days later, Jessica and Harper moved into their new home. The apartment above Panaderia Wilson on First Street in Boyle Heights. The bakery was on the ground floor. It made fresh Mexican bread every day. Pan dulce and conchas and bolillos. The smell floated up into the apartment. It smelled like heaven. The apartment wasn't huge, but it was clean and bright. 2 bedrooms, a small kitchen, a living room with a window that looked out over the neighborhood, and a tiny balcony where Harper could sit and watch the kids play soccer in the street below. When they first walked in, Jessica almost cried because it wasn't empty. People had donated furniture, a couch, beds, a table and chairs, dishes and pots and pans, towels and sheets, toys for Harper, even food in the cabinets. Hannah Wilson, the bakery owner, was there to meet them. She was a kind woman with gray hair and a big smile. "Welcome home," she said, hugging Jessica. "I hope you'll be happy here." "Thank you," Jessica whispered. "Thank you so much." Marcus and his biker friends helped carry in the few boxes Jessica had from their old apartment. Tyler, Justin, Christopher, Matthew. They were all there. They joked and laughed as they worked, making Harper giggle. By evening, everything was unpacked. The apartment looked like a real home. Harper had her own room. Jessica had a bed with clean sheets. They had food to eat. They were safe. That night, after Harper went to bed, Jessica stood on the little balcony. She could hear the city, cars going by, music from somebody's radio, kids laughing, the church bells from Our Lady Queen of Angels Cathedral in the distance. This was her neighborhood, her home. She heard a knock on the door. When she opened it, Marcus was there. He had a bag with him. "One more thing," he said. "This is from all of us, the motorcycle club. We took up a collection." Jessica opened the bag. Inside was money, a lot of money, and a card signed by what looked like 50 different people, all members of Marcus's motorcycle club. The card said, "For Harper's future, from people who believe in second chances." "This is too much," Jessica said, but she was crying now. Good tears, happy tears. "It's not enough," Marcus said, "but it's a start. Put it in a bank account for Harper, for college, or whatever she needs. You don't have to do everything alone anymore, Jessica. You have people now. People who care." Jessica couldn't speak. She just hugged him. Marcus hugged her back. It was the first time in 5 years that Jessica had felt like someone had her back, like she wasn't carrying everything by herself. Over the next few weeks, life got better. Not perfect, but better. Jessica started her new job at the Boyle Heights Community Center. She helped other single moms who were struggling. She taught them about resources, how to apply for help, how to find good, cheap lawyers, how to stand up for themselves, all the things she wished someone had taught her years ago. The job didn't pay as much as cleaning Sterling Tower had, but it paid fairly, with respect. Her boss, a woman named Maria, treated her like a person, not a servant. And Jessica came home every day feeling like she'd actually helped someone. Harper started kindergarten at a school nearby. She made friends fast. A little boy named Diego who lived downstairs. A girl named Sophia from across the street. They'd play together after school, running around and laughing. The nightmares came for a while. Harper would wake up crying, saying she dreamed about the mean man hurting Mama. But Jessica was always there. She'd hold Harper and rock her and sing soft songs until the scared feelings went away. And slowly, the nightmares came less and less. Marcus and his friends became like family. They'd stop by on weekends. Sometimes they'd bring food and they'd all eat together. Marcus taught Harper about motorcycles, how they worked, how to be safe around them. She was fascinated. The media loved the story. News reporters wanted to interview Jessica, but she said no. She didn't want to be famous. She just wanted to live her life, raise her daughter, be happy. Was that too much to ask? Brandon Sterling's life went very differently. He was charged with assault. The video of Harper begging the bikers for help had gone viral. Everyone had seen it. Everyone knew what he'd done. His business partners left him. His company's stock crashed. That means people didn't want to invest in his company anymore. He became known as the billionaire who hid his janitor. Nobody wanted to work with him after that. His lawyers tried to make a deal. They wanted Brandon to just pay money instead of going to jail. But Jessica's lawyer, a kind man named Robert Chin who worked for free, said no. Some things couldn't be fixed with money. Brandon needed to face real consequences. The trial happened 6 months later. Jessica had to testify. That means she had to go to court and tell the judge and jury what happened. It was scary, but Marcus came with her. He sat in the courtroom where she could see him. When she got scared, she'd look at him and he'd nod, like saying, "You've got this." The jury found Brandon guilty. He was sentenced to 6 months in jail and 3 years of probation. Probation means he had to check in with a police officer regularly and follow special rules. He also had to pay Jessica's medical bills and attend anger management classes. 6 months wasn't a long time. Some people said it should have been more. But Jessica was just glad it was over. She didn't have to be scared of Brandon anymore. He couldn't hurt her again. The best part was how the community rallied around them. The neighborhood in Boyle Heights became their family. When Harper had a birthday party, half the street came, brought food and decorations and presents. Kids from school came. Marcus and the bikers came. Hannah from the bakery made the biggest cake Jessica had ever seen. Jessica stood in the middle of her living room, watching Harper blow out her candles, and thought about how much had changed in 6 months. From that terrible night to this moment. From being alone and scared to being surrounded by people who cared. "Make a wish, Mama," Harper called out. Jessica closed her eyes, but she didn't need to wish for anything. She already had everything she needed. Her daughter was happy and safe. They had a home, they had food, they had friends, they had hope. When she opened her eyes, Marcus was watching her. He smiled. She smiled back. Something was growing between them. Neither of them had said anything about it yet, but it was there, quiet and patient, waiting for the right time. For now, this was enough. More than enough. This was everything. 3 months after Harper's birthday party, fall came to Los Angeles. Fall in LA isn't like other places. The leaves don't change color much. It doesn't get cold, but the air gets a little cooler. The light changes. Everything feels fresh and new. It was a Sunday morning, Jessica's favorite day of the week now, because Sunday meant pancakes with the motorcycle club. It had become a tradition. Every Sunday, Marcus and whoever else was free would come over. They'd make pancakes together. Too many pancakes. Way more than they needed, but that was okay. The extra ones would go to neighbors. This Sunday, it was Marcus, Tyler, Christopher, and Matthew. 5 adults and one very excited 6-year-old making a mess in Jessica's kitchen. "Harper, you're supposed to put the flour in the bowl," Tyler laughed. Not on your face, Harper giggled. She had white flour dust all over her nose. But it's funny. Come here, silly girl, Jessica said, wiping Harper's face with a damp cloth. You're supposed to be helping, not making more work. But she was smiling. She couldn't remember the last time she'd smiled this much. Actually, she could. It was yesterday, and the day before that. Every day was full of smiles now. Marcus was at the stove flipping pancakes. He was actually really good at it. He could flip them high in the air and they'd land perfectly in the pan. Harper loved watching him. Tío Marcus, Harper called. That means Uncle Marcus in Spanish. Do the super high one. You sure? Marcus grinned. Last time I did that, the pancakes stuck to the ceiling. That's what made it funny, Harper squealed. They ate on the balcony. Pancakes with lots of syrup, fresh fruit, orange juice, coffee for the adults. The morning sun was warm but not too hot. Down below, they could see the neighborhood coming awake. The bakery opening, people walking to church, kids already playing in the street. This is nice, Christopher said. Makes me wish every day was Sunday. If every day was Sunday, it wouldn't be special, Matthew pointed out. He was the youngest of the group, only 23. It's nice because we only get it once a week. Deep thoughts from Matthew, Tyler teased. Watch out, he's getting philosophical. They all laughed, even Harper, though she didn't know what philosophical meant. After breakfast, the guys helped clean up. Then they hung out in the living room. Marcus and Tyler were looking at something on Tyler's phone. Christopher was playing a hand clap game with Harper, teaching her the words. Matthew was looking at Jessica's small bookshelf. You like to read, he said. It wasn't a question. When I have time, Jessica admitted, which isn't often, but yes, I like stories. They take you somewhere else for a while. What kind of stories? Happy ones, Jessica said. I've had enough sad stories in real life. When I read, I want everyone to be okay in the end. Matthew nodded like he understood. Makes sense. Later, after everyone had left except Marcus, Jessica and Harper walked to Hollenbeck Park. It wasn't far, just a few blocks. The park had a lake with ducks. Harper loved feeding the ducks. Marcus came with them. He'd started doing that, coming along on their walks, playing with Harper at the playground. Being part of their daily life, it felt natural, right? While Harper was on the swings, Marcus and Jessica sat on a bench nearby. They could see the downtown LA skyline in one direction, the San Gabriel Mountains in the other direction. It was a beautiful view. Can I ask you something? Marcus said. Sure. Do you ever think about that night? The night Harper came running to us? Jessica was quiet for a moment. Every day, she admitted, but not in a bad way. I mean, it was terrifying when it was happening, but looking back now, that night changed everything, in the best possible way. You don't blame yourself? Marcus asked. For what Brandon did? I used to, Jessica said. The first few weeks I kept thinking, what did I do wrong? But my therapist helped me see that I didn't do anything wrong. Brandon made a choice, a bad choice. That's on him, not me. She'd started seeing a therapist. Her insurance from the community center covered it. At first, Jessica thought therapy was for crazy people, but she learned it was for anyone who'd been through hard things and needed help processing them. And it had helped, a lot. What about you? Jessica asked. Do you ever think about that night? All the time, Marcus said, because that's the night I met you. Jessica looked at him, really looked at him. Marcus had kind eyes. She'd noticed that the first time she met him, but now she saw more. Strength, gentleness, loyalty, all the things she'd thought didn't exist in men anymore. Marcus, she said softly. I know it's complicated, he said quickly. You're still healing. Harper is your priority, I get that. But I needed you to know how I feel. I think about you all the time, you and Harper. You've become the best part of my week. No, my life. The best part of my life. Jessica's heart was beating so fast. I think about you too, she admitted. But you're right, it's complicated. Harper has been through so much. I don't want to confuse her or make promises I can't keep. I'm not going anywhere, Marcus said. I'll wait, however long you need.
Because you're worth waiting for.
Before Jessica could respond, Harper came running over. Mama, come push me. I want to go super high. Jessica stood up. Coming, baby. She looked back at Marcus. We'll talk more about this, okay? Okay, Marcus smiled. Jessica pushed Harper on the swings until Harper got tired. Then they walked home as the sun was starting to set. The sky turned orange and pink. Beautiful Los Angeles colors. That night, after Harper was asleep, Jessica sat on her balcony. She could hear the city. The sounds that used to scare her now made her feel safe, because this was her neighborhood, her home, her place in the world. She thought about how far she'd come, from that terrified woman on the floor of Sterling Tower to this, a woman with a job she loved, a daughter who was thriving, friends who felt like family, and maybe, possibly, something growing with Marcus. Was it too soon? Was she ready to trust someone again, to let someone into her heart? Jessica didn't have all the answers, but she was learning that was okay. Life didn't come with a map. You just had to take it one day at a time, one decision at a time, and trust that things would work out the way they were supposed to. Her phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. Thank you for today. Sleep well, M. Jessica smiled. She texted back. Thank you for being you. Good night. Simple words, but they meant so much. 2 more months passed. The holidays came. Jessica and Harper's first real Christmas in their new home. Harper made decorations at school, paper snowflakes and drawings of Santa. They hung them all over the apartment. Marcus and the motorcycle club had a tradition. Every Christmas, they did a toy drive for kids in the neighborhood who didn't have much. This year, Harper wanted to help, so Jessica took her shopping. Harper picked out toys for other kids, a doll for a girl, a truck for a boy, books, games. She was so proud to help. On Christmas Eve, the whole motorcycle club came to the apartment. They brought food, so much food. Mexican food, Korean food, Chinese food, a mix of all the cultures in their neighborhood. They ate until they couldn't eat anymore. Then Marcus stood up. I have something to say. Everyone got quiet, even Harper, who was playing with her new toys in the corner. This year has been special, Marcus said. We started the year as a motorcycle club, brothers who ride together. But along the way, we became a family, a real family. And that's because of 2 people. He looked at Jessica and Harper. You taught us what it means to be brave, to keep going, even when things are hard, to have faith in strangers, to believe in second chances. Everyone clapped. Jessica felt tears in her eyes, but happy tears, always happy tears these days. And Harper, Marcus said, kneeling down to her level. You're the bravest kid I've ever met. You saved your mama that night. Never forget that. You're a superhero. Harper beamed. I want to be a superhero when I grow up. You already are, kiddo, Tyler said, ruffling her hair. Later, after everyone had gone home, Jessica stood on her balcony one more time, looking out at the city lights, thinking about everything. A year ago, she'd been cleaning Sterling Tower, exhausted, scared, barely surviving. Now she was here, living a life she'd never dreamed possible. Not because she won the lottery, not because someone rescued her, but because she'd been brave enough to accept help, brave enough to let people in, brave enough to believe she deserved better. Sometimes, surviving was the revolution. That's what a woman at the community center had told her once. You don't have to do something big and dramatic to change your life. Sometimes you just have to wake up and keep going, day after day, until one day you realize you're not just surviving anymore, you're living. The door to the balcony opened. Harper came out, dragging her blanket. "Can't sleep, Mama." "Come here, baby." Jessica picked up her daughter. Harper was getting so big, soon Jessica wouldn't be able to carry her anymore. But for now, she could. She held Harper close, looking out at the city together. "Mama?" Harper said sleepily. "Yes? Are we happy now?" Jessica thought about the question. Really thought about it. Were they happy? Not every minute of every day. They still had hard moments. Bill still worried Jessica sometimes. Harper still had bad dreams sometimes. Life wasn't perfect. But yes, they were happy. "Yes, baby," Jessica whispered. "We're happy now." "Good," Harper yawned. "I like being happy." "Me too, mi amor. Me too." They stood there together on that balcony, mother and daughter, looking out at Los Angeles, their city, their home, their future stretching out before them like a road they hadn't mapped yet. But that was okay, because whatever came next, they'd face it together, and they wouldn't face it alone. They had Marcus, they had the motorcycle club, they had Hannah and the bakery, they had their neighbors, they had a whole community of people who'd proven that angels sometimes wear leather jackets, that heroes sometimes ride motorcycles, that family isn't always about blood. Sometimes it's about who shows up, who stays, who helps without being asked. Jessica carried Harper back inside, tucked her into bed, kissed her forehead. "Sweet dreams, baby." "You too, Mama." Jessica went to her own room, her own bed with clean sheets, in her own apartment, that she'd earned, that she deserved. She lay down and closed her eyes, and for the first time in 5 years, Jessica Martinez fell asleep without being afraid of tomorrow. Because tomorrow was going to be good. Maybe not perfect, but good. And sometimes good was more than enough. Sometimes good was everything. If you enjoyed this story, check out our next video because we have even more amazing stories waiting for you. Real stories about real people who found hope when everything seemed lost. Click the video on your screen right now to keep watching. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button, and share this with someone who needs to believe in second chances today. Thank you for being part of our Beamsy Stories family.